Welcome back to Halftime Inside Memorial Stadium. I'm Jessica Cootie, and it's time for the President's Halftime Show with the University of Nebraska President Jeff Gold. And Dr. Gold, I'm told you have some very special guests with you here today.
Well, Jess, yes, we do. Today, we are so honored to be joined by some incredibly special guests in the President's Suite, Julia Morrison and her family from Nebraska, as well as Dr. Erica Brockberg, along with her family from Michigan. So the story goes that a few years ago, when Julia was just 5, she was diagnosed with a very severe type of aplastic anemia. Aplastic anemia is a rare and frequently life-threatening condition in which, for some reasons, our body stops producing enough blood cells. It turned out that her best hope for survival was a bone marrow transplant, and thanks to the expert care at Nebraska Medicine and the University of Nebraska Medical Center, and the generosity of what turned out to be a complete stranger, that's exactly what happened. That stranger was Erica, a Michigan alum who was signed up to the National Bone Marrow Registry. She didn't know Julia, she didn't know her family, but Erica's selfless act gave Julia a second chance in life, and she'll be joining us on the field in just a few minutes.
Wow, what an amazing story. Doctor, why is donating bone marrow so important, and how does one go about getting involved with that?
You know, what our audience may not know is that UNMC is the home to one of the nation's most respected bone marrow transplant programs, and that's thanks in large part to Dr. James Armitage. Jim was and is a pioneer in the field and built programs that have become national models. As a matter of fact, in many ways, Dr. Armitage is known as the father of modern bone marrow transplantation. Donation of bone marrow is one of the most important acts of service a person can offer. For patients with certain cancers and rare blood disorders, like leukemia and lymphoma, or in Julia's case of severe aplastic anemia, a bone marrow or stem cell transplant can be the only treatment option available.
President Gold, one of the most exciting healthcare-related developments at the university right now is Project Health. Can you explain what this is and why it matters for Nebraskans?
Sure. There is no question that, it's been almost 6 years now since we've been engaged in building and planning Project Health, which is a transformational, almost $2.2 billion investment in UNMC and Nebraska Medicine. It turns out, Jess, it's the largest university in Nebraska investment in history and the largest public-private partnership in the history of the state of Nebraska. This will be a world-class clinical learning center where we will educate and train the next generation of physicians, nurses, and healthcare professionals, and will also conduct groundbreaking research and clinical trials that directly benefit Nebraskans and so many others.
That's incredible. Another exciting development is happening at the University of Nebraska at Kearney, where the Rural Health Education Complex is under construction. What will this mean for the state?
Well, that's really exciting as well. This resulted from the hard work of the unicameral legislature when ARPA dollars were available, at that time led by Senator Stinner, who was the chair of the Appropriations Committee, and Governor Ricketts. This project, which is just about to come to completion, hopefully will open its doors to the first classes of students sometime in the winter months of this year, recognizes our effort to put a tremendous amount of healthcare education and development work into the central part of the state, into Kearney, Nebraska. We opened the phase 1 of this back in 2015 in my second year as the chancellor of UNMC, and that was spectacularly successful, not only in terms of enrollment and graduation rates, but 85% of the graduates stayed in rural communities in Nebraska.
President Gold, always great catching up with you. We always appreciate your time here with us during halftime. Any final thoughts for Husker Nation here today?
Well, actually, I do, Jess. First of all, I'd like to once more thank the healthcare professionals across our states, doctors and nurses, pharmacists, therapists, and public health teams. All of your work makes a huge difference every single day. And as we see on the halftime events on the field today, that selfless acts of kindness really can change the world for so many. But I'd also like to remind our audience that we are still competing in the We Give Blood drive. And it's really important for us to be absolutely sure that we have got every person who's donating blood or thinking about donating blood to link it to the Husker Athletics We Give Blood drive, because we are extremely competitive. And, just like I say when I get asked about my projected score for the end of the game that I know we're going to win, I know we're going to win this one too.
Husker Nation always loves a challenge. Thank you so much for your time.
Always a pleasure. See you next time.
All right, again, that is President Jeff Gold with us here on our President's Halftime Show. We got to step aside for a break. More coming up right after this.